Welcome everybody to episode 11 of the Next Gen Cattle Podcast. This week we're really excited to have Rob Voice on. We talk pretty well everything from cattle to marketing to some favorite memories down the sale road and just about everything in between. So hope you all enjoy.
And our supreme champion female is our national champion, Charlet. I feel the power of Tim Bullock.
She's not just a lady for a day, she's lady for life. Wheatland Lady 211H and Wheatland Bull 417.
They've done it again. Our grand champion, supreme champion, Wheatland. Did you feel the tremor? KR Tremor 7015L from KR Land and Cattle and KFC Farms, your Charlet Supreme Champion Bull 2025.
Welcome to the Next Gen Cattle Podcast.
If you're a cattle producer who understands that stress, environment, and transition directly impact performance, this will resonate. We're Kim and Jackie from Grow Your Life, where we support producers behind the scenes because regulated humans make clear decisions that protect the bottom line. We also teach AIM, the Animal Intuitive Method, a practical body-based system used with cattle herds to help animals settle, realign, and return to function during calving, weaning, hauling, breeding, and change. When people and animals are regulated, losses go down and outcomes improve. Find us at Grow Your Life with Kim and Jackie on Apple and Spotify and at aimhealing.ca.
Welcome everybody to episode 11 of the Next Gen Cattle Podcast. We're really excited to have one of the famous voices of the cattle industry on today with Rob Voice. So welcome, Rob.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mitch. I'm excited.
For sure. Maybe to start off, Rob, just kind of tell us about your operation there and kind of what you got going on.
You bet. Yep. My wife Kirsten and we got two little girls, Collie and Tilly. They're 4.5 and 2.5, I guess. And we live just about 30 minutes east of Saskatoon. And on our home here, we kind of have about 75 cows we'll calve out, and those would be kind of half Angus, half Simmental, and call ourselves Grassroots Ranch, I guess, and we sell some females every fall, kind of at Brookings Sale and Angus Collection and Friday Night Lights if everything works out. And then just last spring we started a bull sale with some friends, the Swarovski and Borson families, and so we call that the Swarovski Grassroots Anchorage Bull Sale. And so, yeah, that's been something new and exciting, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
For sure. And was it, are your either parents involved, or is it just you and the wife? Or
my mom lives in Saskatoon here, close by, which is nice, and she fulfills all her grandma duties. And
there you go.
My dad had passed away there, I guess, in 2008. So,
okay, yeah, maybe talk about just kind of growing up, and if you kind of grew up in the industry, or kind of how you got involved, I guess, in the agriculture cattle deal.
For sure, yeah. Yes, we do live on the farm where I grew up here, and actually, it's kind of funny. My dad had cattle and was really, passionate about it, and had purebred Maine Anjou cattle. And he had those, I guess, until I was like 5. And so I'm the youngest of 3 kids. And so nobody was really involved. My dad had sold those cattle privately, and he was grain farming, and he was actually doing some cattle sales management and stuff. And so he was still involved. And I was kind of the youngest, I guess. And somehow I got interested in this cattle thing, and I think it's kind of funny if you look back, but I actually think it was the movie City Slickers, which you might be too young to know that movie. Yeah, it might be too young for that one, but anyway, you might have to go look it up now. But kind of a goofy old comedy movie or whatever, and I honestly think that's somehow I got interested, but my dad was still interested, and so I joined 4-H, and we had one steer all by himself, which you can imagine how well that went.
Yeah, exactly.
And so he was pretty rough. I think I got last in absolutely everything my first year in 4-H, but I obviously liked it enough. And then the next year we were smarter, and we got a couple buddies for the steer, and we ended up getting a couple of heifers. Actually, my dad was he was doing some sales management, and one of his good friends, Brian Hadlin, was dispersing, and so we bought a couple of heifers out of that sale, and kind of from there, I guess my dad still liked it a lot, and grain farming wasn't as exciting at that time, and so we kind of built up from there, and kind of from that point, which was say 92, I think, eventually kind of by 2000 or so, we kind of had 150 cows, and kind of went from there. So
yeah, there you go. So kind of your whole life, you've always been kind of involved one way or another, at least.
For sure, yeah, I really liked it, and yeah, it's kind of funny. My siblings weren't involved at all, and never were in 4-H or anything. They sure helped with the chores and things like that, but they weren't involved. And yeah, I guess when I was graduating high school, I was interested enough to go. I went on a judging scholarship down to Butler there in Kansas, and kind of through some of my dad's friends and connections, I got hooked up with that, actually through Kent McCune, and I went and did that for a year, and then yeah, it was hard to be away from home, I guess, and be that far away, and we were kind of having some heifer sales and excited about that, and I had a girlfriend at home, which I wouldn't recommend too many people at that age of life have a long distance relationship.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, I ended up coming back, and I went back into the U of S there in Saskatoon, and kind of changed a lot, actually. I went into accounting, and my brother is an accountant still. Yeah, he's a partner with M&P, and so I kind of went into accounting. It was kind of like when you're young and you don't know what you want to do, and I was good at math, and so I knew there was lots of jobs in accounting, and yeah, kind of did that for a while, and then it actually worked out that my dad had got sick, and we sold all our cows and all of our equipment and everything, and so there was quite a few years in there where I was kind of more of a lived in the city and worked as an accountant, and didn't really have any cattle around.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the next kind of maybe part of your journey would be kind of joining the Borison crew there. Maybe touch on how you got involved with that family. Yeah, it was kind of definitely unintentional, I guess. I had eventually started to buy a few cattle, and I had moved back to the farm. That was, I think, just before my dad passed away. I moved back, and so I kind of had a few cattle kicking around, and I bought a couple purebred Angus heifers from Peak Dot. I think that was 2007, and so just before I moved home, I guess. And then I was kind of doing that for a few years, but it was hard, working, and I was trying to calve like April, May, so I could get away from tax season. And, for sure.
And then I would still kind of go to lots of sales, and I was judging a few shows and stuff like that. And Scott Borson grew up at Hanley, which is kind of 45 minutes or so, southwest of here, where I grew up. And we kind of knew each other growing up, for sure. Or we definitely knew each other, but we wouldn't have been friends, really. We always joke about, like, a high school football rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get the better of them, unfortunately, in the football. A few other categories we did. And a 4-H rivalry, actually, I guess, which I would say that we got the better of the 4-H rivalry, and we'll give Scott the win on the football rivalry.
There you go.
Yeah, so I think I was looking this up actually here, just because people ask me how long I've been with Borson, and it's like, I don't know actually. So I looked it up here tonight, and it was 2014 in the summer. I remember Scott was in town. He was living in Alberta, and he was in Saskatoon, and he asked if we wanted to go for beer or whatever, and I actually vividly remember it, and him kind of bringing up that I could work with them. And I was still working as an accountant at that time, and busy and stuff, but I was definitely intrigued and I guess excited to be asked and stuff. And so I started working with him, just kind of part-time, and I did that for quite a few years, just kind of like take my holidays from my day job and
for sure
go to sales, and for a few years there, I guess I was unattached, and so it was whatever. I probably hurt my my own farm life at home, but I enjoyed it and stuff. And then it was the fall of 2018. I quit my accounting job and kind of went full time with Borson.
And that was kind of before my time. Like, were they as busy then as they would be now in terms of sales and everything, or?
No, probably not. It'd be interesting to look at how much it's grown since then for sure. I would say, definitely, quite busy or whatever, but,
sure.
It seems like every year gets a little busier or feels that way anyway.
Yeah, because I guess you would be gone from kind of the beginning of February for 2 months, I guess, probably, with bull sales and such?
Yeah, I was looking the other day there at the schedule and stuff, and the way it works out this year, it's, I guess, in terms of actual sales commitments, there's a bit right at the end of January and a bit the first week in February, and then, kind of from the third week in February to the first week in April is pretty full on. But, in between there, try to tour some bullpens and visit some people and stuff. And
for sure.
Yeah, thankfully we have a big team that gets out and about and does a lot of that stuff. I know sometimes for myself with, cattle at home and that, it's just, a little trickier to spend more days away or whatever. But
yeah, for sure.
It's important to do that and go, see some of those bulls before the sales and stuff.
Definitely. What do you kind of think would be kind of, I guess, one thing you've kind of learned about that marketing thing, maybe what the most important thing is about marketing your cattle?
That's a good question. I think as farmers and ranchers, we're expected to do so many things and be good at so many different things and wear lots of hats. When it comes to marketing your cattle, I do think that one of the key things that comes to mind that's really true in all of life is communication, and letting people know, that you exist first of all, and then, what you're about and what you have to offer and creating starting to create a relationship, and from there, it's maintaining that relationship. First of all, you have to establish it, but to maintain it, and I think the customer follow-up and communication with them and just checking in and, really becoming close with your customers is so valuable. And we see that in the most successful sales and programs that those people do, just an incredible job of staying in touch. And, they're not worried about who's going to show up to their bull sale, for example, because they've spoke to all those people already. And they haven't spoke to them the night before the sale. They've spoke to them over the course of the year consistently and stayed in touch. And, if they have new contacts or new leads that they've made, whether that's at a show or a bull congress or something, they followed up with those people and made sure they got on the mailing list and made sure that they touched base with them, with a phone call or so on, and made sure that they did do everything they could to, hold on to that, hold on to that customer, hold on to that relationship. So that communication is huge and so important. Another thing that would come to mind would be just the consistency. I think people lots of times do gravitate to programs that, I guess there's different ways of consistency, whether that's your genetics or whether that's your the sales that you're involved in or your sale date or etc. I think just sometimes we just need to stay the course, and people will, sometimes you make a contact 5 years ago and you've stayed in touch and you've had a few points of contact and you've kept them on your mailing list and you finally sell them a bull. And because they've, they appreciated your cattle the first time and they followed your catalogs every year and, finally they pulled the trigger, So I do think lots of times that consistency is really important and just staying the course. And I guess you need to recognize if you're not on the right course, but, and change then. But if you feel confident about it and you just, sometimes you're maybe closer than you think. And so I think that that consistency is really valuable as well.
It's interesting because Cade and I talked about it, how long of a kind of a journey it is. We chatted about, because we both came from, a background without kind of a purebred, backing and it's kind of similar, I guess, in your situation too. And you never know who your client's going to be one day, right? And he touched on, the selling a bull to the college, and he's like, he never thought of his own, right? And then all of a sudden the college is there buying. And I think even that in terms of communication, communicating kind of, what you got and understanding it's more of a long haul versus a sprint, right? In terms of, kind of building that customer base and, getting into the right sales and all that for sure.
Oh, big time. I think it can be frustrating at times for new people in the business, when they compare themselves to some of those big successful operations that we all look up to, the 6 miles and the Peak Dots of the world that do an incredible job of their programs. And
they say comparison is the thief of joy, which I think is very accurate. I do think what you can do when you look at those programs is look at the parts of that are the reasons you look up to them, and the things that you admire that they do a great job of, and maybe take those ideas and put your own flair on them, or your own twist. And I think there's nothing wrong with taking somebody else's great idea and making it your own, and I think that for people, you can't always compare yourselves to those programs. I think it's great to strive for that, because we all want to be competitive, and that's where you want to get to. But I think along the way you've got to recognize, first of all, being objective with yourself in terms of, what's different about your cattle or about your program than those programs, and also recognizing the history that they have. And, we've talked about it being a people business, and that's so true. And, some of those programs have had 50 plus years and multiple generations of relationships that they've established, and so we've seen that in some of these catalogs lately, where people have featured that, this customer has bought 50 bulls from us over the years, or whatever that is, and so, those rock solid relationships that we all would love to have, help make those programs so successful. So, I think that drives home the importance of building relationships with people, and when you get a customer, holding on to them, and making sure that they're a satisfied, happy customer, and maintaining them. But, I think, there is ways to do things quickly in terms of, making some great cattle and stuff like that, with the ET work we're doing now and the talented people that we have. But, the relationships with people is something that does take maybe more time, and maybe depends on your personality, and you got to think about how you can kind of skin that cat, and whether that's outsourcing certain things and hiring some more people to be involved, or whatever that is, but it is tricky to compare yourselves to some of those long-running programs, but you just need to get going and get started, and obviously be aggressive and work hard and so on. But, I think, there is lots of tools these days that you can do it more quickly, but also you don't need to exactly compare yourselves to some of those super long-standing programs.
For sure. And I think kind of surrounding yourself with the right group of people too, that, are going to kind of be in your corner the whole time. And if you need that guidance to kind of guide you in the right direction too, is a huge part of it as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's like the saying that, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I think it is really important to surround yourself with great people that push you and that you can learn things from, and hopefully they can learn something from you, and, that they support you and all want to work together. And, we've talked about this people business a lot, but it's so important, and those people will support you. And I mean, lots of times, we all like to do business with people that we like and that we want to support. And on the flip side, there's some people that we don't like so much that you would honestly probably say you would maybe never buy cattle from. And so, I think those relationships are just so important in terms of, business, but also just in terms of growing and even personal growth. But
100%, for sure. If you could kind of give, I guess going with that question, if you could give one piece of advice to the next generation, what would it be?
Honestly, I guess I went a little bit different direction with this one, but my number one piece of advice is to marry well.
There you go.
So, pick the right partner, 100%. And I mean, just in life in general. And it's, I don't know you and Sam really well, but I would guess that you've got that figured out quite well.
Yeah,
and sure. Your life partner is by far the biggest decision in your whole life, for sure. And I think back on my life, and I had some pretty serious relationships that could have reasonably almost went to marriage. And looking back, that would have been a major mistake. It's amazing how hindsight is 20/20, right?
For sure. And just finding someone too, I'm sure it's the same with you, but the Sam and I, we're always pushing each other, and it's so nice, like when you're like-minded and you can bounce ideas off each other, and then you kind of start rolling into it, and you're like, oh, like what about this and what about this, and it's definitely it's a great feeling, when you find that person that you're like, oh, like this, just it feels good, right? For sure.
yeah, all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's, this is just easy. Like,
Yeah, 100% for sure.
It can be this easy. And I mean, I guess with this cattle thing in particular, it is really nice to, lots of people do make it work where they don't maybe share the passion, but I don't know, when you're as serious as you and I are, I think it certainly helps a lot when they do
100%.
share that passion for it, because it kind of can take over your life, right?
100% for sure. For sure. Who do you think kind of had the biggest influence on your career so far, or life in general, I guess, as well?
Yeah, I've thought about that a bit, and yeah, it's a big question. I think there's maybe some different stages of life. Obviously my dad was a huge influence and really what started my passion for the cattle business, and I remember sitting around the supper table and be like, him and I wanted to talk cattle, and the rest of the family tolerating it, but we kind of had that different level of passion for it. And so, yeah, definitely my dad would have for sure got me started with it and really supported me in doing that, from having no cattle here and being the youngest that, none of the other kids were in 4-H, and we didn't have any corrals anymore or anything. We'd basically gotten rid of everything. And so to build all that back up, he really supported me. I would say, honestly, in my 30s, I know a few people have mentioned that Dennis Suryanko was a big mentor to them, and definitely I'd say in my 30s for sure, Dennis helped me a lot and visited with me a lot and had a lot of great ideas. And we all know that he's certainly a mastermind that knows his business so well.
For sure.
And and then I would say, Scott Borson, obviously, Scott gave me the opportunity to work with his team and really make it work in my life when I was working as an accountant, and then when I wanted to quit working as an accountant, and and then put the faith in me to block some sales to start with, and to continue to do that, and probably had more faith in me than I had in myself, honestly, and so supported me in those things. And so Scott it really gave me the opportunity to do those things that I never would have really thought of, honestly, otherwise.
For sure. And then, and I think everyone knows that voice, and, Sam and I will be, we always have sales on the TV or the computer or whatever, and kind of, you might not know who's doing it, and then you hear your voice, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's Rob. It's
yeah.
Very, very, like that. Yeah, you do an amazing job, and it's, something I think, a lot of people hope one day, if they get the block of sale that, they have, you're just so fluent and, you're confident, and you know it, right? You know all the genetics and the pedigrees and everything too, right? Which kind of, you gotta know them to be up there and talk them, right? For sure. So.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I do enjoy it lots, and hopefully people don't get bored of me as I start doing, I've done a fair bit here now, but yeah, it's lots of fun to be up there and kind of see the whole sale happening and stuff. And yeah, it makes me think back. When I was a kid, my dad would bug me. He's like, you got all these, I'd study the magazines, and cut out the pages of the bulls, and this is
for sure
mid to late 90s when the bull promo ads weren't quite as cool as they are now. And yeah, it's my brother had this Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition on the wall, and I had cow advertisements.
If you had to pick one, skill, hard work, or a great mentor to ensure your success, which one would it be and why?
You got some good, tough questions. That's a tough one.
I can't take credit for this one. I heard it on another podcast, so I thought you'd be a good trial to see what you had to say about it. So
yeah, that's a tough one because really any one without the other is not going to be enough.
For sure.
But, what I thought of actually was self-awareness. It would be maybe the skill to start with. I mean, you still need hard work but I guess the self-awareness to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses and where you need help, where you might need some mentorship. And, we all need support and guidance and friendship and all those things. And so I think being self-aware enough to know, your strengths and weaknesses and when you do need those things. And I think it's pretty, just then I guess, what you need. I do think it's important to be able to look at yourself and recognize, what you're, maybe it gets better as you get older too. I think it probably has for me personally, a little bit easier, when you're young, you maybe don't want to admit as much to yourself, things that you're not as good at or whatever, and you get older. You've maybe seen it enough times, it's easier to admit it. But.
Yeah, well, and for sure too, and I think with that question, I thought when I heard it, I was like, man, like that is a tough one, and I think kind of as you go through life too, all those stages are all going to change too, right? Even with different days that pass, your nose to the grindstone for a while, and then I need someone to help me get to that next step, right? And then you find that person that kind of gets you there, and then you need to use a little bit of the skill to do whatever, right? And I think it's an interesting question for sure. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be interesting to see what different people had to say about it too.
Yeah, for sure.
Edwin County Farms in Ontario is looking for a hands-on farm manager with cattle experience to help take an established organic beef and mixed farm operation to its next growth phase. The farm at this point has been family-run, DIY to this point, and now they're ready to bring in a professional leader to tighten systems, improve consistency, and set up the operation for long-term generational growth. If someone you might trust would be a good fit, please contact Leslie at 416-879-5575 or send us a DM on our Facebook or Instagram pages. Back to the podcast.
What do you think your most memorable moment in the cattle industry would be?
Yeah, that's another good one. I mean, there's lots over a lifetime, I guess, that you're proud of or whatever. I would say this one is kind of funny. I'm not the show guy in particular, but we did raise a bull that won the Simmental show at Agribition 2024, I guess, a bull called Red Man. And he was in our spring bull sale, and actually Scott and Tig had bought him out of the sale. And then they decided to show him, thanks to Riley Borson, I guess. And he ends up winning Agribition, and that was pretty cool. And honestly, maybe the coolest part was, we all just kind of went out that night and went out for some drinks. I remember we all ended up at Leopold's there in Regina, and it was kind of our Borson team and our spouses and stuff. And that was just, I have a few pictures of that night just sitting there at Leopold's, and we had a great time. And that was a great memory with my friends. And then one other one, I guess I'll go over 2-for-1 on this one, was our first bull sale with our partners in 2025. We'd sold our bulls privately for a few years, and then we had done an online sale for a couple of years, and got talking with our friends the Swarovskis and Borsons about doing something, and for all of us it was the first. I guess not for all of us, but doing it together, it was the first time, and just to everybody working together and making it great. It was a lot of fun and felt really good, and I think everybody was super positive afterwards, and so we're excited to keep that going. And that was a big, really proud moment for us for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think always that first one too, right? It'll kind of, always have a special kind of spot in your heart and like a lot of memories too, right? And that's one thing, whatever, I don't remember who it was with, but kind of one of the bucket list things was for us to have a sale here. And I think it's definitely, a moment that, I look forward to, and I think that, you'd remember for a long time for sure.
For sure, yeah, it was cool, and I guess in ways it shows you like what you can do with being surrounded by good people and working hard and kind of having a dream, and it I guess it shows you what's possible.
For sure. What's one thing as a whole that you think the cattle industry does really well, and one thing that you think that we could like either change or work on?
I think in lots of times that we do a great job of like supporting each other, and whether that's business or just, supporting people with, reaching out to them and saying like, hey, it was, congrats on your sale, congrats on your heifer doing so well at that show, or just supporting people in terms of, hey, how's it going? Like, what are you up to? And I know lots of people on the farm, we can get kind of isolated, right? And stuff when you're just kind of head down and nose to the grindstone and stuff like that. And I do think we do a great job of supporting each other lots of times, and then certainly working hard and getting things accomplished. I think it's amazing what, it's one of my favorite things actually of working with Borsa Marketing is just seeing what people have accomplished. And like, over the years, you see their progress, whether that's in terms of their livestock or like their facilities, and like the people that you go to their yard and like they build buildings and put up like the corrals, and they build like impressive buildings and facilities and things like that, you know, and so many of those times that people have done like a ton of work themselves. And I think that's amazing. I do think one thing that came to mind that I would mention at times that we could do better as an industry is I do think sometimes we can get pretty critical on the people that judge these cattle shows, you know, and I mean, it's a tricky balance because, you know, so much goes into it for people in terms of, you know, their entire year planning to exhibit these cattle at a high level and have them go out and do well. So I get what people have invested into it.
For sure.
But I do think that sometimes we're pretty hard on judges and the jobs that they did, and assuming it's politics or, you know, which, you know, I honestly personally don't feel it's that as often as people assume it is. And
for sure, 100%.
And, you know, I don't think that we quite have like the training system in Canada as strong as they obviously do in the US, you know. Not saying that we need to go maybe all that extent and everything, but, you know, I think we could improve our training system here so we have a few more people that are, you know, just say, I think we've lost people that are qualified, but more people that are able to justify their placings
sure.
and stuff,
100%.
you know. And I do at times just have concern with that on the judges because, I just think that, you know, there's some very good people that do a great job that have been, you know, kind of started to decline some jobs because they just don't want the baggage
for
of,
sure.
you know,
100%.
It's going to hurt my bull sale, or I'm going to lose friends over it, or whatever. And so the upside is, you know, to judge a show for anybody, the upside is, you know, hey, I'm proud to be asked, and it's exciting to be involved, and I do want a chance to give my opinion, but, you know, the upside's kind of limited, whereas the downside of, you know, losing a friendship or losing a customer or whatever is pretty significant.
Sure. Well, and it's
right?
hard too as a person, right? Because, you know, you feel that pressure, and, you know, when you take that job, and, you know, I haven't judged, you know, any major shows by any means, but even in the 4-H shows that I've judged, right, it's you know the person on the halter, or you know their dad, or you know their brother, or whatever the situation is, right? And you kind of, you go with your guns and, you know, stick where you go, and then regardless, like, you either hear from one side and it's like, you only pick them because you know who they are, or you get the other side where it's like, well, you didn't use me and you know me, right? Like, it's a double-edged sword for sure, I think, when it comes to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I think there's times when it's like a no-win situation, and you know, you're always going to make you only make a few people really happy and a number of other people possibly unhappy,
for sure,
right? And I do think we need to have, you know, I do still think obviously you got to hold judges accountable to doing the best job they possibly can do and having integrity and stuff like that, which I do think the vast majority of people do.
For sure.
But I think we need to be careful because, I mean, ultimately, you know, if you lose more, it's already a somewhat limited pool of people in ways. And if some of those people kind of opt out and say, you know, it's not honestly worth the downside, well, who's going to judge these things?
100%,
you know?
For sure.
So,
Sure. Well, if you got a couple host gets hosted questions for me here, I'd love to do my best to answer.
For sure. Yeah, I do have a few, and I've tried to listen to all the pods here lately, and I guess whether I've done a good job or not of not doubling up on questions, but my first one for you is, like, what is the main source of your passion for this business? Like, you're obviously super excited about it all and love it to do this, and where did that come from?
Yeah, I guess it probably kind of, you know, stemmed from a younger age, I think, of, you know, growing up and you know, the first, let's say, 5 years of me showing, you know, as green as you could come when it comes to 4-H, and you know, seeing kind of, you know, every year, you know, trying to either set new goals or reach that next point. And, you know, whether it's, I remember the first goal was always to get to the Royal. It was like to get a heifer to the Royal. And then, you know, I got there with this skinny commercial heifer that I borrowed from my uncle, and it, like, I think the progression for me, and, you know, for me looking back and kind of seeing how far I've come from a young age, and you know, trying to connect with people that have kind of done the same thing, I guess, for me, and, you know, that journey of, where you started and, where you get to for everyone is different. And I think that's for me one thing that, really kind of gets my juices flowing and was kind of the reason for this was, there's a lot of people out there that no one knows their story or where they came from or, something that they might not know about the person. So I think that drive and, the motivation to get to the next step was is kind of what I'm always kind of striving to do to be better for sure.
Yeah, it does come back to the people, hey? Like the
all the time, yeah.
I know I talk about that with some of my friends and stuff. It's like, there's not many people that I went to high school with that I would stay in touch with, but there's almost everybody I went to 4-H with that I would stay in touch with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, and just all the people, that, have played a influential part kind of to me getting where I am now. Like there's so many people that I remember that I'm like, yeah, like without you, like I wouldn't have, been able to do this, or I wouldn't have ever showed, a purebred Simmental when I was 10 if it wasn't for Lauren Orster and my 4-H club, right? Like all those things, it was, it's definitely interesting. And I think that, one of the things I kind of said for a goal for 2026 was kind of to, remember all those people and, and reconnect with some of those people just to see where they're at and kind of catch up and, just to kind of I guess thank them too for everything, right? Because it's been a long trip, I guess, to get from, living in Ontario and not really knowing what, a blower was to now for sure. So
that's awesome for sure. Okay, I do have a few more for you.
Yeah,
so then
sure.
I was going to ask what your most memorable moment in the industry is.
Yeah, there's a couple. I think probably the first big moment I think in the cattle industry was my dad and I had gone to a sale in Lindsay where I bought my first Angus heifer calf, I guess. And I didn't know anyone. I hadn't talked to anyone, before the sale about I was interested or anything. And we're sitting in the stands, and I had not gone to college that fall because I had to have knee surgery. So I had a little bit of money saved up, and I kind of wanted to invest in, something purebred. I had some commercial cows at that point, and kind of wanted to take showing more seriously. And I would say that would be a big core memory for me was me and my dad sitting there, and I was 16, and I was bidding on this heifer, and I whatever it was, 8,000 or 9,000 or whatever, and I was like, no, I'm done. And he's like, tapped me on. He's like, just go one more. And then I ended up buying her, and I think at that age spending, and someone who'd never I'd never spent, I think it was $9,000 or $10,000 before. I'd never spent that much money, and I was shitting bricks. So I had walked out to see the heifer, kind of when she came out of the ring, and kind of take another look. And by the time I came back in, Dad had bought 2 more. So it was kind of one of those moments. It was like, well, if we're taking the trailer, we might as well fill it anyways. So it's I'd say for sure, there's a lot of wins that I'll never forget. But I think that kind of for a core memory was that was kind of what started it all for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what about in the future? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, I think it would be really nice to get some more cows around here now. We bought 2 heifer calves this fall, or I guess a fall born in the spring too. So, I think to get a few more cows and I think kind of try to take a run at this custom showing thing where we got a bunch booked for the fall, and Sam and I both share a lot of passion for show cattle and raising good cattle and finding good calves around that might not necessarily be in a sale. And I think there's a lot of good seed stock producers that have a lot of good purebred cattle in their operation, but just don't have that connection from I guess the seed stock industry to the show industry, and maybe selling some more in sales and such. So I think that for me is kind of something I'd really like to dive into a little more, to try to sell some cattle for people and kind of see them succeed, and we can both kind of succeed together for sure.
Right on. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, especially when you and Sam share it like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think stuff that I don't necessarily love to do, like wash 30 head a day. Sam Sam lives on that, so it's
perfect.
It's a good thing. I know when she was in Oklahoma last year, she like, "What are you doing today?" "Oh, just washing a different group that we didn't do yesterday." And I was like, "Yeah, I spend as much time as I can out in the barn." But she, with work and everything and harvest last fall, it was kind of busy, and I'd come home at 10 or 11 o'clock, and she'd still be out there blowing away, and it's like, "Well, what time did you get out here at?" "Well, I've been out here since 6. And it's like, "Oh, wow. Girl, I get bored way too fast to be blowing on cows for that long."
Yeah, you need podcasts and stuff for, hey, because
exactly.
Yeah, you need to have the AirPods in and something to keep you occupied. Otherwise, it does get a little stale for sure.
For sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll round it out with some rapid fire questions here. Favorite person to travel with on the Borison crew?
Yeah, honestly, our whole team is good. I enjoy, that's one thing I've said before, like, just in general is like, whatever, you work together all day, you eat together, you sleep like you share a hotel room, whatever, like you basically live together. Like, you better like the people you're traveling with,
sure,
otherwise
100%, yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be a long season. But if I had to pick, there's a couple that come to mind. I would say Tig. He's up there for sure. Tig's a workhorse for driving, maybe more than he likes probably. But yeah, he's awesome to travel with, always easy going. You get on some road trips, you can play some weird games when you're on the road long enough, right? So,
fair enough.
Tig's always good for that. Got a good sense of humor. And then I would say Jax. Jax is a beauty. He's always down for anything. I mean, Jax is really good, easy to travel with, go with the flow. If you said, hey, we're going to grab McDonald's and keep driving, he sounds good. Or if you say, hey, I want to stop for a bite to eat and a beer, he would say sounds good. So he's always super easy. And those guys are lots of fun. And you can share the same tunes and the same goofy road trip games and have lots of laughs along the way.
For sure. Totally, like, off topic. How many kilometers do you think you'd put on in a year between everything?
It's actually bad. I should know. I know people have asked before. And whatever. We play musical cars so much where you travel with a different guy, or you got to swap a vehicle for one reason or another. And I don't know, actually, other than it's a lot.
A lot, yeah. I was going to say,
It's a lot. It's a lot of tires. It seems like tires. You go through a lot of tires, and unfortunately, not as clean of a vehicle as a person would probably like.
Oh, fair enough.
But actually, yeah, it's amazing. Like, my wife and I drove to Calgary there for New Year's, and it was like, this is a long drive. And you're like, I do this all the time, like after a day's work, another 7 hours or whatever. Sure. So it's amazing what you can do once you get into a rhythm, and it's obviously very nice if you have somebody to travel with that. For sure. When you're by yourself, it's a little bit less exciting, I would say.
Oh, definitely.
But you got somebody fun to travel with, and lots of times you got some phone calls and stuff to make, but once you maybe it gets too late for some of that stuff, some podcasts and some music, and next thing you know, you're there.
Exactly. Favorite spot to stop for food on your travels?
Yeah, there's we always try to Tig is especially kind of the Chinese restaurant connoisseur.
Yeah.
And so whenever we go to a small town, we always have to check out the Chinese restaurant, and he's a wonton soup guy. I'm not as much that way. I will try it, but I do like a good Asian restaurant. And so the one we always look forward to is in Swift Current. It's called Wong's.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
next time I'm in Swift, I'll have to stop in.
You'll have to look it up. Yeah, you might be kind of wondering why it has reached that status, but it's just, I don't know, it's good, and it's we don't go to Swift that terribly often, so it's kind of like once or twice a year maybe.
A little bit of a treat too.
And yeah, exactly. There's a place, I'm trying to remember it now that we're talking, there's a place in Brandon that's like this unassuming little place that's tied in with a mini golf course. I'm going to see if I can Google it or not. They've got really good prime rib. Albert's Bistro in Brandon.
Yeah.
So if you're in Brandon, you go to Albert's, and that's really good. And then we always do try yeah, you're on the road, things can get a little routine, right? And
for sure.
And there's a lot more McDonald's than you'd probably like to admit. And,
Oh, definitely.
And so we do. Scott's really good about. He always tries to find like a local coffee shop, like
right, just to wheel in and try something. Yeah.
Yeah, something different, and usually you can, never know what they have for some baking or a breakfast sandwich or whatever. So for that, there's Michael's in Carlisle.
Oh, okay.
Is a good spot. So if you're ever in Carlisle, actually they have a location in Weyburn, maybe Estevan too. I've never been to that one, but Carlisle's kind of like the headquarters, I would say. And the guy is usually there, and they have really good breakfast pizza. Which is awesome, and the full lineup of coffees, and so that one would take the cake for like a coffee spot.
Sweet. What's one sale you look forward to every year?
That's a tough one, to nail it down. Like there's so many that are lots of fun, and just honestly, it's the people, like we said, that you just love visiting with, and then the cattle that you love looking at, and that are great to market and stuff. But I'm going to say I honestly look forward to the New Year's resolution sale maybe as much as any. We always have our Boris and Christmas party the night before, and so that's a lot of fun to get together with all of the crew and their spouses, and then the office staff and their spouses, and so it's finally the end of a busy sales season and a chance to get together and have a good time and tell some stories about the year and just hang out with everybody and enjoy an awesome meal. And then, New Year's is the next night, so it all ties in. And New Year's is busy, but it's a little different with it being all online. And,
right, for sure.
And all genetics. And you're still working, and it's still a very busy day, but you don't have quite the same deadline, starting the sale and stuff.
Everything at once, kind of.
Yeah, slightly lower key, even though it is a huge project, and then honestly, it's been so successful, and that after that you're gonna have a bit of a break.
Yeah, exactly. So, the end is near.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes on for so long too, right? Like I remember this year, like we got snowed in or rain, freezing rain. There was so much of it, we didn't end up going anywhere, and we were watching it, and then watching a movie or whatever, and fell asleep and woke up, and it was like midnight or 11 o'clock, and it was still going. I was like, holy crow.
Yeah, I know. We do keep trying every year to brainstorm some ideas to get it to close out earlier, and we've as many things as we can come up with Sholigan from DLMS, and to try to keep it faster. I do feel bad for people in the East, and I know people get frustrated or fall asleep or whatever, and we do our best to try to speed it up, but unfortunately it kind of is the nature of the
just
beast.
Just the way it is. Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Kind of is. Yeah.
For sure. What's the best life hack that you know?
Oh, I'm going back to where I was before. Marry well.
There you go.
Pick the right spouse. That's
for sure.
I don't think that qualifies as a life hack, but
hey, whatever works, man. Whatever works.
Very, very important, and it's my. I know it's hard to know when you're young, and like I said, I almost went the wrong way when I was younger. But when you eventually and you realize, it's very 100% important.
For sure. And last one, favorite drink to end a hot summer day.
Yeah, I'm pretty low key. I do like to drink a beer, and I will say it seems like we don't drink beer out of bottles hardly anymore.
Fair enough.
Right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I guess cans are easy and stuff, but beer out of a bottle at the end of a hot summer day, and I'm not real picky about beer. I just like beer. I would honestly, if I had to pick, maybe like a Miller High Life is out of a bottle is like the key part of that. For
sure. No, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on. It was great to catch up, and hopefully we'll see you at some point here this spring at a bull sale somewhere. For sure. No, sounds good. And thanks for having me. And I think, it's really cool what you've started here, and it's neat. Like, I was going to say earlier, like how you've incorporated so many young people, and like you said, people that aren't the same people that have been on some podcasts. It's different people and new people, and they've got interesting stories, and I think that's really cool to highlight some different people and lots of young people. So yeah, for sure. No, thank you. That's it's what we're trying to kind of get some people on that
might not have had the chance before or whatnot. Thank you. I really appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, you do a great job of coming up with some questions and hosting and just having a nice laid back situation. It's really good.
For sure. Well, awesome, man. Thanks for coming on, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, for sure. Thanks, Mitch.